Good day, sports fans from Las Vegas. It's gamblersworld.net This is college preview, and we've got some big doings here, and we've got some big things to talk about. Upsets last week. I'm your host, Chip Chirimbes, creator of the A Play, the single strongest play on the board each and every day. And my co-host is Paul Bovi. Paul has been pounding the bookmakers in Las Vegas. He's been known for that for eons, the big game player. Paul, welcome aboard. We got some interesting things going on in college football right now. And no longer do players have to sign letters of intent. As a matter of fact, I think you can leave one team and go play for the other one at halftime if you really decided. But the SEC took it on the chin as far as national rankings last week. Alabama gets beat outright by Vanderbilt, and Tennessee falls to Arkansas. Do you think it'll affect the overall Big 12 selections committee that comes up with? This is the one thing, Paul, that bothers me about it is the importance and you say the urge to win isn't necessarily that vital right now in the season.
Well, certain teams, as we know it, have a chance to recover from losses because of pedigree, notoriety, as you call it. And certainly, you got to reflect on Alabama because they do have a signature win on their resume, which is certainly going to help them at the end of the year when all this shakes out. But credit to Vanderbilt. This is really a huge win for this program. They hadn't seen anything like this for decades, and it really was an exciting football game. As far as Tennessee goes, boy, I will say that I expected Arkansas to compete. They were one of my selections.
Right.
I didn't expect them to win the game, but I'm going to tell you, Tennessee looked extremely vulnerable. I mean, if you were a Vols fan and you thought Vols had a chance at the national championship, you have to look at that game and say, where was the offense? Certainly, Nico's stock went down. I mean, he was a favorite for the Heisman, and right now, after that game, their offensive performance was absolutely abysmal. Will they have a chance to come back and
I
compete?
believe so.
I believe so, but they're going to certainly have to up their game and put a few nice wins on their resume as well.
Yeah, but the word I was looking for before I was reaching out was urgency, and it doesn't seem like it really exists now because of the new format. But this Tennessee team actually controlled Oklahoma, and really, the stats really don't reflect how they dominated the Sooners. Now the Sooners are playing in Dallas. This game's at a neutral site against number one Texas, who's been elevated. Texas. Paul, 14.5 point favorite. Before we get to your free game, we're going to discuss this, one of the top three games out there. But Texas, 14.5 point favorite on a neutral site against Oklahoma. Seems like a huge number to me.
It's a huge number, but Oklahoma has stunk. I mean, let's face it. They wanted that Houston was a 4 point game early on.
Right.
You saw what happened at Tennessee. The Tulane game, which I lost. I don't know how I lost it. They were down up by 5 points. Tulane had mounted this comeback behind quarterback Mensah, and somehow Oklahoma, courtesy of a few breaks and Tulane going for it on fourth down deep in their territory, ends up with a 15-point win. Very misleading. So this has just not been a good football team. So is 14.5 too much? I wouldn't take it. It's hard to lay it, but Texas is a much better football team, as the line would tell you.
And if also when you look at Oklahoma beats Auburn with only 11 first downs with a pick six.
Yeah.
And they were really totally beaten in that game. But the stats, if you compare the stats, this Texas compared to Oklahoma doesn't move the ball. A fairly decent defense, but Texas got the numbers on them everywhere. I understand why that number is there if you actually sit there and do some research on the game. Interesting matchup, Penn State playing USC. Penn State favorite on the road. USC getting beat last week at home by Minnesota. Penn State struggling, winning, but not covering these huge numbers. Now it's 4.5 in LA. Does it look like they're trying to invite you to take the Nittany Lions here, Paulie?
I will tell you, I took 6.5. Because when that number came out, my eyeballs got big. And I'm going to tell you why they got big. I watched that Penn State UCLA game. Now, the final score, I think they beat them by 16 points or something like that. They did not cover the number. But UCLA had a lot of fight in them, and they were gashing them up the middle. I have not been impressed by this Penn State team. Everybody has anointed them as a possible national champion. I don't see it. I just don't see it. And watching that game last week, I think they were kind of exposed. Now,
Yeah.
USC, look, they came back against Minnesota. They came back the prior week against Wisconsin. Then they
Yeah.
go to a flat spot, play this Minnesota team, and come up lame. But now they're back home, and I think they have a good shot to beat a Penn State team that is highly overrated. I'm glad I grabbed the 6.5 because, as you say, it's down to 4.5, and I think it's sharp money. I don't think it's dumb money.
Okay, Paulie, thank you. And before we get to your free play, one more out there. Ohio State is going to Oregon. Paulie, at the beginning, all the preseason polls and everything said that Oregon was one of the favorites in the Big Ten, and yet they're 3.5 point dog to Ohio State now. Um, that raised my eyebrow a little bit. I thought it would be closer to pick them.
Yeah, I did too, and certainly Oregon has a great quarterback, Gabriel. I think the game is a toss up. I generally lean towards the school from the East in these
Yeah,
types of games, and
right.
that would be Ohio State. So I would give them a lean. I don't know if I want to lay points, but it's going to be a tough game, interesting, certainly fun to watch, but I would lean Ohio State.
Okay, now teams from the East. Are you talking about Eastern Michigan? Eastern Michigan against Miami of Ohio? That's your free play. What do you got for us on that?
All right, so the number came up very light, I feel, on the total. It opened 46. I got some at 44. It's back up to 46. And I still think it's a play to the high side. Eastern Michigan, this version of Eastern Michigan this year can move the ball. And they also give up a lot of points. They gave up 33 to Kent State, and it was no fluke. The Kent State quarterback threw for 350. And they also gave up quite a few yards to the Jacksonville State quarterback, who had his best performance. He was 24-34 for 318. Miami of Ohio is capable of throwing the football, and their defense has at times been soft. So I'm going to look for this game to go over the total. I like this game to get into the 50s. Uh, Mind you, this may not be my top play. Last week, I lost for the first time giving out a free play, and it was on, I believe, Stanford. Now, I ended up getting off Stanford. Uh, I didn't like the game as much, let's put it that way, and I did not use it as a paid play. So normally my free plays are a paid play, but in last week it was not. This one will be, but you got to keep an eye on that because it's not my best play.
All right, Paulie, we understand this. You want your premier picks. You got to log on, follow the buy links, and become a winner that way. I am the play, the single strongest play on the board from Ship Chirimbes. My complimentary winner will be Fresno State. I'm sort of ambushing the producers here, but the reason why I like this is just Washington State have been really good with them, Paulie. They scored, they come in, they come out, they're up and down, and now they're playing the Fresno State team. That's it's pliable. This team getting points at home. I just think that Fresno's in a great spot. The Bulldogs to pull it out. So that'll be my free winner right here at gamblersworld.net. This is our college edition. Paul Bovi and Chip Chirimbes saying good luck this weekend and log on, follow the buy links, become big time winners at gamblersworld.net. Second time I've done that. And there's 13 others out there, big time winners, Las Vegas champions. Paulie, thank you very much. Good luck to everyone.